Hello, welcome to another edition of the VOD Weekly News Recap. I am glorious Haddijatou Njie. Good evening. Now let's look at the headlines. Ministry of Higher Education awards Best Graduating Students of UTG with postgraduate scholarships. Gambians in Germany to protest unlawful killing of a Gambian man in Njie city. Halifa Sallah, no political leader interested in solving foreigners' interference in Gambian elections. Government confirms outbreak of avian influenza in the Gambia. A Frexit bank organizes a 2-day roadshow in the Gambia. GPA warns politicians against using children as tools during campaign. Former Councillor Momodou Lamin Baji apologizes to Mayor Bensouda's mother. Sierra Leone, political parades banned before the presidential elections. Senegalese president open to dialogue after tensions. At least 10 students adopted by gunmen in northwest Nigeria. Trump indictment. US going to hell, says ex-president. Macron counting on Xi Jinping to bring Russia to sense. UK conservative lawmaker Benton suspended after newspaper stink. Those were the headlines. Now let's look at the news in detail. Ten of the outstanding students from the University of the Gambia's graduating class of 2023 have been awarded postgraduate scholarships abroad by the Ministry of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology. At the Students' Excellence Award, the Honorable Minister of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology, Professor Per Gomez, stated that the postgraduate scholarships attended in countries the ministry shares bilateral relationship.
This is the policy of the Gambia government. Whether we are here or not, this will continue. And we want you to go back and tell your brothers and sisters out there that this nation is calling them to sit up. To sit up and give their best so that they, next year and subsequent years, they will also sit here like you.
He added that the award provides a platform for recognizing excellence in higher education. On behalf of President Barrow, the 10 deserving and meritorious students from the University of the Gambia were awarded the scholarship by the Ministry of Higher Education to pursue their graduate studies, he added. Speaking on behalf of the fellow Graduate Students Excellence Award 2023, Adam Njie thanked the Chancellor of the University of the Gambia, President Barrow, and the Ministry of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology, Honorable Professor Per Gomez for the award of graduate scholarship.
Joy, it's like so much joy, for real. Me in 2016, I've never believed that I would get this. So it feels amazing. Yeah, if I can do it, I believe anyone else can do it, genuinely. Yeah, it's just dedication. It's not like naturally gifted or whatever. It's just dedication and hard work, consistently. Yeah, that's it.
Gambian youths in Germany on April 1st, 2023 staged a successful demonstration against Boris Palman, the mayor of Njie city, following his alleged discriminatory and racist comment about the death of Basiru Jallow, a 23-year-old Gambian migrant who was stabbed to death by a Croatian man. The angry and disappointed youths, who were joined by some German locals during the demonstration, said Mayor Boris, instead of showing remorse, accused murdered Basiru of drug dealing. Basiru Jallow, a Gambian man, was murdered on the 22nd of March, and soon after the news broke, Mayor Boris wrote a racist and discriminatory comment against Gambian migrants. Mafode Cham, a Gambian resident for more than 2 decades, called on all Gambians and Africans within the region of Stuttgart to come in large numbers to demonstrate against racism. He explained that a week before this, another young man aged 23 was stabbed to death by a man after an altercation. As far as I can remember, in the last 2 decades that I've lived in Njie, I have never heard of such a brutal act that took the life of a young Gambian after an altercation. This is an unfortunate moment for the victim's family and us Gambians who live and work peacefully by the thousands in the cities and districts, Jam said. He urged all the young people from Gambia to stay away from any illegal trade or activities. Halifa Sallah, no political leader interested in solving foreigners' interference in Gambian election. Haddijatou reports.
The leader and Secretary General of PDIS, Halifa Sallah, said there is no political leader interested in solving foreigners' interference in Gambian elections. The issue of what you call outsiders' interference with what you call Gambian elections is a very complex issue. Extremely complex, and your leaders are not interested in solving the problems from the First Republic or the Second Republic till now, Halifa Sallah said. The PDIS leader made these remarks in response to a question by a reporter about his party's stance on the alleged involvement of foreigners in Gambian elections.
Of what you call outsiders interfering with what you call Gambian elections. It's a very complex issue, extremely complex. And your leaders are not interested in solving the problem. From the First Republic, Second Republic, until now. And when I say leaders, I'm putting you, all your political leaders are not interested in solving the problem. It's a blanket statement because we should debate on this issue.
Halifa Sallah said, 1970 Constitution also says that the people who were born in the Gambia prior to 18 February 1965 of parents who were not born in the Gambia could go and be registered as Gambian citizens. The veterinary politician further told journalists that when the 1970 Constitution was coming into being, the issue of naturalization and registration should have been addressed by having that provision of that people who were born in the Gambia will be registered by the 1970 Constitution. Haddijatou reporting for VOD.
The Ministry of Environment, Agriculture, Health and National Disaster Management Agency has confirmed the outbreak of high pathogenicity avian influenza in the country after several birds were found dead in Katong and other coastal areas. In a joint statement, the government says samples collected from dead birds were sent to the National Veterinary Laboratory for Veterinary and Livestock Research in Dakar, Senegal on 1st April 2023 and were found to be positive of the type H5N1. Last week, a public outcry amongst environmentalists raised the red flag on the zoonotic disease outbreak that has claimed the lives of more than 100 wild birds at Njie Beach Reserve and Katong Beach, amongst other places along the coastal strip. The statement highlighted that high pathogenicity avian influenza, more commonly known as bird flu, is a severe disease of both domestic birds and wild birds, and can also cause disease in humans, adding that it is the disease that causes devastating consequences for the poultry industry, farmers, livestock, international trade, and the health of wild birds. With the current situation, the Department of Livestock Services and Department of Parks and Wildlife and the Ministry of Health is closely working together to help reduce the infection pressure at the wild bird level, while working with other key stakeholders in the strive to prevent the split over to other poultries, which subsequently will pose a more serious threat to the public health, the release disclosed. Afreximbank Bank and Oldwood Green, in partnership with Gambian Investment and Export Agency (GIPA), organized a two-day roadshow in the Gambia. This is the second edition of the Afreximbank Bank Trade Roadshow in the Gambia. The event kicked off at the Sadauda Karaba Jawara Conference Center on Tuesday, 3rd April 2023. The two-day event, geared towards brainstorming ideas to adopt inter-Africa trade, brought together central bank governors and senior banking officials across Africa. The theme for the event was sustaining the Inter-African Drive, navigating through last miles. Bura Seidi, the governor of the Central Bank of the Gambia, in his remarks on cross-border infrastructure, said the Central Bank of the Gambia has conducted a light test of commercial banks operating of the Pan-African payment system for the facilitation of inter-regional trading across Africa. Babukar Ismail Ajouf, the Minister of Trade, Industry and Regional Integration and Employment, said the forum signifies the desire of Pan-Africanism of driving the African agenda in key sectors of financing.
Following last year's roadshow, Mr. Chairman, I understand that this year's event will serve as a follow-up on discussions started with key government and business entities in the country on various funding initiatives embarked upon. This forum will further provide the opportunity to entities which could not be engaged last year to explore possible funding or structuring support from both Afrexim Bank and Oakwood Green Africa Limited.
Afrexim Bank is a Pan-African multilateral trade finance institute created in 1993 under the auspices of the African Development Bank. It is headquartered in Cairo, Egypt. As another election period starts, the Child Protection Alliance has warned against the mobilization of children for campaign and other election activities. In a statement on Wednesday, CPA said candidates and political parties must respect the rights of children and desist from any form of violation of their rights during campaign activities. The CPA said there are samples, evidence, and documented proofs of the involvement of children in campaign activities in past elections in 2021 presidential election. These exploitations include overloading vehicles with children, making them carry or distribute campaign materials, endlessly beating drums for people to dance. Election campaign affects children, both directly and indirectly, and they must not be used as tools in the name of getting them to learn their civil rights. A child is not a tool or a decoration, and most importantly, not somebody's property. A child is an independent citizen entitled to rights that must be respected, the statement said. The CPA said it is the obligation of candidates and political parties to respect the rights of children and protect them from any form of abuse or exploitation. The CPA also challenged the IEC to join the crusade to protect children from being used by politicians by including children political exploitation as a violation of the electoral rule. Former Councillor Momodu Lamin Baji apologizes to Mayor Bensouda's mother. Aissatou Sow reports.
Former Councillor Momodu Lamin Baji apologizes to Mayor Bensouda's mother concerning the allegations he made during last press conference held on 7th March, where he mentioned that the mayor, Talib Bensouda, uses the council as a business venture for his family. He also allegedly said that Talib's mother, Mrs. Ami Bensouda, has shares in Ajib Bank, and he, Talib, uses those shares as collateral to secure a loan to finance the Mbalit project. Mrs. Bensouda's lawyer took umbrage to these utterances and the negative impact their allegations will be on her reputations over the years, considering that she's represented clients nationally and internationally who depend on her exceptional integration and people standing. According to Momodu Lamin Baji, former councillor of Ibo Town, Joshua Ward, Mrs. Ami Bensouda demanded a written apology and a public apology at a press conference, and failure to do so within 10 days, a sum of 100 million will be demanded. Mr. Yankuba Koli, the former mayor of KMC, said it is somehow worrisome, but for them, at the time the statement was given, it was intentional to defame her, and they equally feel that it was wrong. A sincere apology to her. Aissatou Sow reporting for VOD.
Now let's look at the news across our borders. Authorities in Sierra Leone announced on Monday that they have banned political street parades, a tradition during election campaigns in the West African country less than 3 months before the presidential elections. Election periods are not a time for dancing and joy, but rather a time for reflection, the Political Parties Regulatory Commission, a state body, said in a statement announcing the ban. During campaign, the country's two main parties, the ruling Sierra Leone People's Party and the All People's Congress, typically hold parades through town. The new rules now require parties to designate a fixed location, stadium, community centers, etc., to hold their campaign rallies. Playing on the credibility of our people, politicians have for years used these streets to cloud their thinking of the electoral, especially young people, by using drugs and other intoxicated, said the commissions. According to Lucian, spokesman of the commission, the ban could reduce violence to a minimum. Years after years in Sierra Leone, campaign streets parades have become an increasingly serious threat to the safety of ordinary people, he mentioned. These rallies were by violence and insult and threats towards political opponents. Presidential, parliamentary, and municipal elections in this country of some 8 million people will take place on June 24th. President Julius Maada Bio will run for a second term there. His main opponent, APC leader Samura Kamara, is currently on trial for corruption. If convicted, he cannot stand for elections or hold office in the state. Senegalese president open to dialogue after tension, Haddijatou Sow reports.
In a speech broadcasted Monday night on state TV, Senegalese President Macky Sall said he was open to dialogue in the interest of peace and national cohesion. Sall was speaking on the eve of Senegal's 63 years independence anniversary on Tuesday. He made no mention of the 2024 presidential election if he would seek to play any role. In this spirit, I remain open to dialogue and consultations with all the living forces of the nation in respect of the rules of law and the institutions of the Republic for a united Senegal, a Senegal of peace, stability, and national cohesion, Sall said. Speculation is rife that Macky Sall will seek a third term, a move the opposition has warned would jog the political climate in one of West Africa's most stable countries. Tensions have risen in recent weeks and months, with opposition organizing rallies denouncing corruption and the high cost of living. Legal proceedings against opposition figure Ousmane Sonko have also made the atmosphere more tense. Sonko, who has already declared he will run for presidency in 2024, was last week found guilty of defaming a government minister. He is battling rape cases. Sonko's supporters view the charges as the latest attempt to cut short his political career, including his likely presidential candidate in 2024 elections. Haddijatou Sow reporting for VOD.
Students from the government senior secondary school in Kaduna State were abducted during an attack Monday. However, it was unclear exactly where they were kidnapped from, said Samuel Arua, the State Commissioner of Security. The exact location of the incident is yet to be ascertained, but detailed reports being awaited will clarify whether the incident occurred within the school premises or somewhere else, he said. Adoption of students from school in northern Nigeria are common and have become a growing concern since 2014, when Islamic extremists kidnapped over 200 school children in Borno State. More than 1,000 students were kidnapped from school in the northwest and north central region in 2020 and 2021, according to the United Nations report last year. Authorities blame the adoptions on armed groups who often target remote communities. More of the gunmen are thought to be young men who are ethnic Fulanis and a likely Muslim group of semi-nomadic herders who have been embroiled in conflicts with communities over access to land and water. Whilst attacks were reduced last year as Nigerian security forces ramped up military operation targeting the gunmen's hideout, the government still struggling to the insurgency. Now let's look at the international news. The US is going to hell, Donald Trump has said in a defiant address after pleading not guilty to falsifying business records to hide demanding information ahead of the 2016 elections. The former president was charged with 34 counts in the Manhattan court in New York on Tuesday. These relate to the horse money payment to porn stars Stormy Daniels, who says they had an affair. Mr. Trump is the first US president in history to face a criminal trial. The only crime that I have committed is to fearlessly defend our nation from those who seek to destroy it, the 76-year-old told supporters gathered at his Mar-a-Lago home in Florida after appeared in court. He said that the fake case, in quotation, was simply part of the Democratic conspiracy to interfere with his next year's presidential election in which he is running. Earlier, he stared Stoney's face and silence for the nearly hour-long proceedings before Judge Wan, speaking out loud only in response to the judge's questions and to enter his plea of not guilty. Mr. Trump said nothing to reporters as he left court. French President Emmanuel Macron has urged his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping to use his influence to help stop Russian war in Ukraine. I know I can count on you to bring Russia to its senses, he told Mr. Xi Jinping at the start of talks in Beijing. Mr. Xi said the two countries had the ability and responsibility to safeguard world peace. The French leader is on a state visit to China, which has refused to condemn Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Accompanied by a large business delegation, Mr. Macron is also seeking to bolster trade ties. He is joined by European Chancellor Chief Ursula, who he invited to take part in talks with Chinese leadership. The visit is being highly after years of deteriorating relations between the West and China. On Thursday afternoon, Mr. Macron was treated to an elaborated military parade in Beijing before entering closed-door talks with Mr. Xi Jinping. The two are expected to hold a three-way discussion with Ms. Vold, who is in Beijing on Mr. Macron's invitation later in the evening, and attend a state dinner. In meetings early on Thursday, which other top Chinese officials, including the country's number 2 premier, Mr. Macron and Ms. Vold, had called for increasing dialogue with Beijing. A lawmaker in Britain's governing Conservative Party has been suspended after he was filmed in a newspaper's link offering to lobby ministers and leak market-sensitive information on behalf of a fake company. Scott Benton, a lawmaker in Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's party since 2019, has been suspended pending an investigation. The move comes after the time in which Belton told its undercover reporter, who was posing as gambling industry investors looking for a pay advisor, that he could leak them a copy of an upcoming market-sensitive government policies paper on gambling reforms. That's all we have for you today. Until we come your way again, I am Glorious Haddijatou Njie on the VOD Weekly News Recap. Thanks for watching and have a good evening.